In the latest Strange New World sneak peek, the Enterprise and Farragut are dead in the water. Kirk faces his first real test in the captain's chair, a takeover threat looms, and some delightfully retro tech just might save the day. Well, hey everyone, I'm Nick and welcome back to Sci-Fanatics. Well, today we're talking about episode 6 of Strange New Worlds season 3, entitled The Celet That Ate Its Tail. We've got a sneak peek scene to have a look at for this new episode that's on our TV screens tomorrow, and we've also got some promotional photos to take a look at from the episode to get a bit more of a sense as to what we might be up for in this latest episode of Strange New Worlds. This episode sees the results of Kirk becoming the new first officer of the USS Farragut, and it seems like the Farragut and the Enterprise are in a little bit of a bad way in this episode. We've got a little bit of quirkiness going on, courtesy of Pelia, and it looks like it should be a good episode, a bit of a character study as to seeing, you know, maybe some first glimpses here of Kirk in command. So let's get right into it, have a look at this sneak peek scene first, and then we'll take a look at some promo photos.
Team to the bridge.
I do hope they haven't just literally just done a copy of the Enterprise bridge for the Farragut. I hope they've dressed the set in a few different ways to make it seem like a different space. It does kind of feel a little bit like we're just shooting on the Enterprise bridge. Like there's no nuance or difference about the Farragut. Like, you know, maybe put a new captain's chair in or something, or change the chairs, or do something that makes it look a little bit different to the Enterprise. Because so far it kind of feels like we're just shooting on the Enterprise bridge without any kind of attempt to stylistically change it to be a different starship.
This is the USS Farragut. We need immediate assistance. We've taken heavy...
Sir, something's interfering with the comm signal. I'm trying to identify the source.
It's coming from that.
Well, I wonder who this attacking force is that's crippled the Farragut. Let's see if some of these promo photos can shed a bit of light on who the foe is for this episode. In our first photo here, we see the power supply seems to have been affected on the Enterprise. We've got no power to a lot of the lights on the back of the bridge, which we would normally have. We seem to have some sort of secondary light source down the bottom of frame there next to Pike, which seems to be lighting them because main power seems to be reduced. In fact, we can actually see from the screen in the background where it says auxiliary power supply, this isn't main power, this is auxiliary power. So they're only operating on 14% auxiliary power in this episode, so they've taken a bit of a hit. We've got La'an packing 2 phasers there in the middle, so obviously some stuff has gone down that requires self-defense. This shot, which I'm assuming is the Farragut bridge, because if we zoom in and have a look at some of the displays here in the background, we can see the Farragut silhouette here on the display console. The displays are primarily sort of blue or cyan in color. The lights at the top are blue, whereas on the Enterprise they tend to be red or multicolored. And I think all of the displays of the Enterprise tend to be kind of orange or yellow. So I would guess this location is in fact the Farragut bridge. And look, it doesn't look that different to the Enterprise bridge to me. And it would appear we've got obviously Kirk, Chapel, Scotty and Uhura on the bridge there of the Farragut, and Spock as well, dealing with whatever crippled state the Farragut appears to be in. Here's a shot of Pike looking a little bit stressed, a little bit concerned. We've got another one of these lights here on a stand in the background, so obviously they've had to put a whole bunch of lights and stuff, self-powered lights around the place to help light up the place because they're on limited power supply. I'm guessing this shot we see, which is a continuation of the previous one with the Chapel, Scotty and Uhura on the Farragut bridge. It feels like this shot's been taken in between takes. They're sitting around having a bit of a laugh, having a bit of a joke. This probably isn't part of the episode. This is probably just like an in-between takes shot from what I can tell, because it looks like they're just kind of chilling out before they have to do a scene. But if we zoom in on the screen, we get a little bit more of a sense as to what's going on. A display screen there with the sensors on the left-hand side. And we can see that we've got the USS Farragut on the main view screen there. And then to the left of them, we've got a label which says scavenger ship. So it would appear that the Enterprise and the Farragut are being attacked by scavengers in this episode. Our next photo here, I think, would appear to be back on the Enterprise. We've got Una and Ortegas there at their various different consoles. Ortega's holding a couple of wires in her hand there, looking like she's about to hotwire a console or something. So obviously trying to jury rig some solutions to their problems. Here's another shot of Una. This just appears to be a close-up shot of the previous image. Obviously they've got to defend themselves against the Scavenger's ship and the Scavenger's crew, it would appear, based on the fact that we've got a bunch of security officers there in the background, and we've got Pelia looking a little bit worried. Hence all of the low power situations going on the ship. Back on the Enterprise here, we've obviously got Mitchell and Ortegas at their displays. This sort of seems like it would be a wider shot of the earlier scene we saw with Pelia and the security officers in the doorway. Maybe this is just before the security officers come in the doorway, because we can see them in the background in the open door there behind them. We can see that light on a stand again in the background, implying that the ship is on minimal power and they have to bring in some supplementary lighting. And we've got Ortegas. If we zoom in nice and close here, it appears that Ortegas is holding wires, like they're having to hotwire the Enterprise. This may be connected to the fact that we saw some clips from this episode before in an early trailer, which kind of shows the Enterprise jury rigging some old retro telephones that they've probably dragged out of storage from Pelia's antique collection to help communication systems operate on the Enterprise. I'm guessing maybe these wires that she's holding is something connected to those old-fashioned phones that they've got going on. Here's a shot of Spock in the briefing room. Obviously they've taken a bit of damage because we've got wires hanging out of the ceiling. We've got girders and beams and so forth that have fallen down. So they've obviously been in a bit of a battle situation here, which leads up to this state that the ship happens to be in of reduced power and somewhat crippled. Here's Kirk. He's looking a little bit dusty, his uniform's a little bit dirty. He's obviously been through a fair bit. Not sure whether this is going to be on the Farragut or the Enterprise, because it does seem like they're just reusing the Enterprise sets to double for the Farragut, so we'll have to wait and see how that works out. Another shot in the briefing room, it would appear, with Spock and Kirk in discussion. Again, lots of rubble, lots of bits of wire and some girders and so forth that have obviously fallen out of the ceiling during a battle attack. It'll be good to see the growing relationship between Spock and Kirk in this episode. Obviously seeing the beginnings and so forth of a relationship between those two blossoming and flourishing, I think could be an interesting aspect to the episode. Definitely on the Enterprise bridge here, we can definitely see from some screens in the background the Enterprise silhouette there in orange. Again, we've got light stands and things in the background, lanterns and things which are sort of illuminating the bridge. Going by the screen in the background, it looks like the power's even less than it was in that earlier shot. Now we're at 10%. So we've obviously got quite a significant reduction in power on board the ship here. All these wires hanging out under the console there that Mitchell and Ortegas are sitting at, but I don't see any old-fashioned telephones that have been wired in yet. So maybe that comes a bit later in the episode based on what we've seen. Here's a shot of number one and Pike looking somewhat concerned here in this shot. Again on the bridge with our temporary lighting in the background. And here's a shot of Spock and Kirk. Very dusty, dirty kind of background here on the walls of the ship. Kirk's looking pretty shabby. A lot of dirt and dust sort of on him. But Kirk's got a smile on his face. So it would definitely seem like, even though through all this hardship and dire situation, we've still got time for a little bit of a smile. Another shot of Pike and number one looking concerned on the bridge of the Enterprise there. And here we see these retro telephones that obviously have needed to be pulled out of, I'm guessing, Pelia's antique storage closet, wherever she happens to have this stuff housed on the Enterprise. That'd be my guess, because you wouldn't just have these things lying around, but we know Pelia's a bit of an antique collector, so I'm guessing they have to utilise these to hook up some sort of temporary communication system to operate through different departments on the ship. So definitely be interesting to see what goes on in terms of all these different scenarios. We've obviously got a massive attack, we've got ships crippled, but we've also got some sort of, it would appear like a little bit of levity or a little bit of quirkiness with the whole retro phone thing being wired up to facilitate communications. But hopefully the quirkiness is not too overwhelming in this episode, and we obviously are in a serious situation, but it looks like it will be an interesting episode. What do you guys think? Are you looking forward to episode 6 of Strange New Worlds, season 3, The Zealot Who Ate Its Tail? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section and we'll get chatting about that before the episode premieres tomorrow. As always, guys, if you haven't subscribed to Sci Fanatics yet, please be sure to do so and ring that notification bell to stay current with all the latest Star Trek YouTube videos coming out from the channel. Be sure to check out the merch store. We can pick up plenty of cool Star Trek themed t-shirts and everything. There's a sale on in the store at the moment, so be sure to take advantage of the sale while it's on. I'll be back tomorrow with my review for episode 6. See you then.